Like sign. Carries. Thank you. Next, we'll be talking about Adobe partnership. This time I'd ask Dr. Stephen Marshall to come forward. Dr. Marshall is the chair of the Department of Media and Communications. Brian?
Mr. Chair, thank you. And as Dr. Marshall comes to the podium, I want to just take a second to frame his presentation. At several of the board meetings, you've asked us to spotlight industry partnerships. You've asked questions pertaining to programs that we have at the institution that embody partnerships with business and industry that ultimately prepare students with the certification skills and training that they need to move into the workforce. So what you're going to hear today from Dr. Marshall is not only a unique program, but a few of its kind program in the country that involves a partnership with a cutting edge global giant in Adobe. So Dr. Marshall, thank you for sharing the story of your program with the board.
You're welcome, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with the trustees here. I want to also just acknowledge the fact that we are able to do this because of the leadership of Dr. Nolan, Dr. Bach, Dr. King and her team in ITS, and also a great team that I have in my department of Media and Communication, and especially my dean, Gordon Anderson, Dr. Gordon Anderson. So I'm excited to be able to talk to you about this. I don't know if my deck is going to work with this. So maybe we can just get you guys over there. Do I have a clicker? There you go. Okay. And I've got my kryptonite here. I like to move around the room, so. Yeah, there you go, right? So, anyway, I'm Stephen Marshall, and I've gotten to serve this university for more than a decade. I'm a department chair, I'm a professor. I'm also a digital marketer, so I get to work with a lot of the great brains that you see up there. I worked for 5 years for Creative Energy here in Johnson City, but I also get to train Adobe's digital marketing customers, and these are hundreds of companies around the world, Fortune 500 companies, on how do they transform their business. And I do that with my colleague, Dr. Melanie Richards. And then I'm also the digital marketing expert for higher education for Adobe. And so that's an important thing that I want to make sure that I mention to you, because as I am doing these things that we're trying to do here with my team in our university here, I'm also in the field listening to what other universities are trying to do themselves to digitally transform their campuses for all stakeholders. So I think it's an important distinction to make. So experiences, this is kind of the foundation of what I want to talk about. And really the goal of what my team tries to do is to focus on building these T-shaped folks. I'm sure this is not a new concept to you. The idea of a really great general education university background, great global citizens, great critical thinkers, but also coming out of it with something that's distinct, something that brings them to the job market that really says, I'm the aspirin for your headache, this is why you should hire me. I really believe in that great global citizen, but I also want my students to get really great jobs. So I think we can put both those things together. Now, your deck that you all have has a lot more stuff than I'm going to talk about, but I want to move through this quickly. Experiences matter. Experiences matter to this generation, Gen Z, whatever you want to call them. They think about experiences a lot, but experiences also connect to campus. And what I talk to universities about when we talk about digital transformation is how do we connect and create this holistic approach to a campus, to where we have a 360 view of the student from when we are trying to court them to when we're trying to get them to actually decide to be here with us, to those great learning experiences that they're going to have on our campus, to when we're asking them to donate to us 5-10 years later, right? It's that 360 view that is really important. And this Gardner paper, which I'm happy to share with the trustees, is a great piece of this. This came out in 2017, talking about the personalization of the student experience, why that is so important. The second thing I want to talk about is digital literacy. I'm not talking about students really good at Snapchat. I'm talking about students that really understand and can critically assess the things that they read on social media, the information that they put out there about themselves, how to digitally put together a portfolio. Those kinds of things are super important. That's part of digital literacy. That's an initiative that I really feel very passionate about. So the model that my team works on in the Department of Media and Communication is this, we're calling it AMEN, but really it's a applied marketing and media education norm, okay? So what we do is we take theory-based learning, we apply software appropriately to activate those learning outcomes, we build in opportunities for students to learn and earn certifications as they're earning their degree, so they have some other kind of piece that differentiates them in the marketplace, and multiple certifications, quite honestly. And then we are activating their learning outcomes with project-based learning, through industry partnerships, but also on campus. So how are we doing this? Well, in 2016, Dr. Nolan had introduced me with this Adobe Initiative. Some of you may have heard of it. You may have wondered what in the world it is. But we are the first, and we are the only ones in the world that have this model at East Tennessee State University. You probably know about the Creative Cloud, Photoshop and InDesign, those kinds of things, PDF. One part of the Adobe business you may not be familiar with are how we get those experiences on these devices. And this is a more than $3 billion business for Adobe. If I want to mention it again, I will. We're the only university in the country teaching that part of their business. If you notice and recognize any of these brands, this is where we are. These are our partners. These are our partners for guest speakers. These are our partners for projects. These are our voices. These are all companies that are actively looking for people right now to hire because universities are not putting those people out into the marketplace. I know this because I work with the Fortune 500s, and I hear this, and every time I go and do a training session, I have a new partner because they can't find people. And I know this because of the fact that universities are not thinking about the way that you have to digitally prepare students for the media and marketing space. So how did we get here? We got here very entrepreneurially and very innovatively through a funding model that's based on students that are recruited for my program. So this enterprise level software that we're talking about, I'm going to show you an example of what we're doing with an external developer on new websites that I'm going to talk about in a second. This has been funded by students that I recruit for my program. So this is enterprise software. It's available to all stakeholders at the university, and it's there for your use. So what we're doing in fall is we will have 4 teams assigned to these 4 initiatives that will be working on key performance indicators around admissions goals for these specific things. And what we're going to be doing is scaling that as we become more and more successful. So of course, my department is funding this, but medical professions, bluegrass and old-time country music, and the Creative Arts Scholarship. And I'd be happy to engage after this on any of these questions that you might have regarding why we chose those. So some outcomes. Well, it's always great when you have someone like Forrester, who's a leading voice and thought leader in the space, saying, you guys are doing it right. Preparing students for next generation business. They did an interview with me. This came out in late 2016. In terms of our 3-year goals for recruitment for this program, we are finishing year 2, and we are at 150% of the number that we need to have. And so we're in year 2, finishing it right now. Industry partnerships. This is the part that gets me very excited. Okay, you will recognize those brands, right? This is where we really have guest speakers. We have folks who are helping us position our program. What are the learning outcomes we need to be thinking about? What's next for our students? What are some projects that we can put in the queue? Okay, we're excited about projects that we have possibly coming up this fall with Barclays Bank, you can see up there, with Delta, with FedEx, with Pandora Radio. Okay, these are all in the queue to work with students in our program. And then incrementally, we have seen some great outcomes just in the sense of students working as part of the marketing apparatus here at the university. So last year for the Creative Arts Scholarship, my college took it upon itself to just try to do an email campaign to try to generate interest for the Creative Arts Scholars. And incrementally over time, we generated about 30 additional inquiries. My students, some of your people actually, my students have, in the last month and a half, have generated more than 300. This just means focused effort, and these students are trained in the space. These are the real experiences that I want to bring to students. This is what I believe students need to have to be active and to be ready for the job market. So the last thing I'm going to do is brag a little bit. 2 weeks ago, we were in the National Student Advertising Competition, and we won. Which means we beat all teams from Georgia, Louisiana, Tennessee, Mississippi, and Alabama. If you're keeping score, that means we beat ETSU, that means we beat Memphis, that means we beat LSU, that means we beat the University of Alabama. So we are now out of 100, if I'm not, that's right. So I'm not competitive or anything. So that means out of 150 schools, we're now one of 19 competing for 8 national championship spots. And so we'll find out here in the end of next week how well we do there. So super proud of what we're doing, super I love this place, and I love the students, and I appreciate the opportunity to show you this. So, so the academic wins, just as a recap, the program growth, interdisciplinary. This is really important. The digital marketing program that's in the College of Business and Technology, I ideated that thing. We collaborate with them. Okay, and I've taught for the AMBA program and MBA program a number of years. It's really important. Interdisciplinary, also with with sociology, with psychology, with arts and graphic design, digital media, of course. This is where this is really powerful. We really want to continue to create opportunities for industry partnerships. We're going to keep doing that. And then the thought leadership. Again, I have spoken at probably 20, 25 Adobe events to hundreds of folks from different universities, and we are the thought leader. We are the ones that are setting the agenda for what's happening. That's a pretty exciting thing. Some things that we can do, some opportunities. This website I'm going to show you, which is just a first creative crack from our developers of what it's going to look like. This is really the scale that we can take this across the university is still there. We have enterprise license for the entire university for this. And then digital literacy is really important. So I know Dr. Kirkwood and others have been participating in thinking about the new general education and what we're thinking about with that. We really need to have a digital literacy component as part of that. And the last part of this is that I've been talking with Dr. Bach and others about a revenue generating some kind of thing this fall to where we bring companies here and we do professional training for industry because that's what we do for them now. With Adobe. So while I'm setting this up, let me, okay, there we go. I didn't have to set up anything. Okay, so this is our first crack at what these websites will look like. And I say first crack, they go through a design, some iterations in terms of design, but this is 90% there. And so again, the 4 sites, the Creative Arts Scholarship, Medical Professions, my department, and Bluegrass and Old-Time Country Music will be working off of this template, but we are going to be working on scaling this to others. Dean Aloya has talked to me about being interested in this. Mary B. Martin has talked to me about being interested in this, and others on campus have talked to me about having a student team. I don't know if I mentioned it, but we started a brand and media strategy graduate program with 7 students. We launched in the fall with 23. We have more than 80 in the pipeline for this fall. Okay? So we're knocking it out. So this is just a look at what this will look like. Think of these as one of my colleagues said, think of these as frames, right? So you're hanging pictures. This is either looped video or static image. This is all very designed to change behavior, right? So we want folks to either visit us. I want them to come in my classroom. I want them to see our professors on my team. I want them to see them at work, right? I want them on campus. I know if I get them to campus, I'll convert them, right? Or we want them to apply. And that's why you see how this is laid out. Some data helped tell us to stay, again, this is not, the copy here is just placeholder right now. And then this is a Adobe innovation that's called Livefire that allows you to curate social media from all different kinds of platforms in different ways to be able to say, here's the social proof. Okay, so we all buy stuff on Amazon. We all read those reviews, even though most of a third of them are not real, but we still read them. And this is that social proof of why your colleagues that you'd be studying with, why they would come. So this is what that look feel is. It's very, very much on brand. It very much, and this is something we've been doing in collaboration with digital media. Kelly Porter from Art and Design, Jonathan Hounshell from digital media, Marty Fitzgerald from digital media have all been a part of the ideation of this. Dr. Richards from my department, the ideation of this. And in fact, we've had our team called Buck Digital, which are our graduate students, working on this as well. We want to get them into that professional space. So with that, I know I'm over my time, but.
Good. Questions? Great. I think this is exactly what the trustees are looking for.
Yes,
this is really
definitely
interesting. But beyond that, in your opening remarks, you mentioned something I think we could lose sight of pretty quickly, and that is that if a student he could have had a great experience here, but if he didn't receive a relevant and rigorous education that allowed him to transition or bridge over to a great job, Pam Ritter and the development office is never going to get a chance
That's right.
at them as they go through life.
That's right.
Thank you. And if you could just pick up your enthusiasm in the next president. Thank you.
I think to your point, I mean, bringing some of the onboarding into the classroom is really what we're trying to do, right?
Good
So
stuff.
thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, that was an awesome presentation. Yeah, I thought clapping.
That will move to the president's report. Dr. Noel.